A few years ago, I put out a review of Pin Inspector, and I am thrilled to report that this software has stood the test of time and is still my favorite Pinterest research tool that I use just about every day. If you haven't seen the original video, I'll leave it linked below this one because it shows you the basic functions of the software and how I use it. But in this video, I'll show you two major updates that Dave has added to the Pin Inspector software. Those updates include the Annotations tab and two new sections in the Boards tab. So first we're going to take a look at the Annotations tab, but before we do, I want to talk about what annotations actually are, because that's not a term that I have used in my courses or other trainings, but it is technically what these are called in the code. So at face value, annotations are keyword bubbles tagged onto pins that are only visible when logged out. So these annotations are part of the Google SEO strategy at Pinterest because, of course, like every website on the internet, they want to get more traffic from Google. And we can clearly see that that is the case by looking at the code to see that these are labeled as SEO sections. So technically, these are not for us. They're for Google. These annotations used to mainly link to boards, but now these annotations link to ideas pages, which we also know as interest pages, which are technically part of the interest algorithm. Okay, so we're going to start in the Annotations tab in Pin Inspector. And then we'll click on the keyword section within that tab. So it's like a submenu. And there are actually lots of ways to pull annotations into this tab, but I wanted to start with like a simple walkthrough of the tab itself to give you an idea of how it works before showing you all those other options. Okay, so I am going to start with the keyword dog training tips. And I'll click on search to see if there are any annotations that match this keyword. And there is. And we can see the taxonomy of interest in this category tree column. And that's going to be useful later as we analyze more annotations. So I love that Dave added that in there. And there's also a link to the actual interest page. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And on the interest page, this is kind of an addition that I requested after he started building this tool. I requested a function that would grab these related interests from the interest page itself. So Dave added that to the tool, and I'll show you how that works. So to get the related interests, click on the checkbox next to the annotation. And then in the top right, you'll see a button that says Get Related. You just click on that, and that will pull all of those related interests from that interest page. And we can also pull data from these added keyword bubbles, which are technically called additions in the code. So to get those additions, you make sure that checkbox is still selected. Then in the top right, you'll see a button that says Get Additions. That will pull all of those additions from that interest page. So I think that this is really helpful for interest targeting research, especially if you're researching a niche that you're not really familiar with, because you can start with a really broad keyword and use the related interest button to see how Pinterest is relating that keyword to other interests. Okay, so I'm going to clear these results and I'll show you the next section within this Annotations tab. It's called the Search section and it's on the far left. And I'm going to use that same keyword, dog training tips, and it will start pulling annotations directly from the top ranking pins for that keyword. So this tab is great if you want to get an idea of what annotations top pins are being tagged with just in general, but that's technically how it works. It's going to pull it from top pins. So there are a few other ways that you can pull annotations into this tab from other tabs in the tool. So I'll clear these results so I can show you how to do that. And we're going to head over to the main keywords tab at the top left of the main menu. And I'll type in my seed keyword dog training tips to see what keywords come up. And if you're not familiar with the Keywords tab on Pin Inspector, this actually works by pulling keywords from the drop-down suggested search on Pinterest. So we know that these are going to be the most popular searches with this seed keyword on the platform right now. When I use the main keywords tab, I always like to grab the very first results because those are hands down the most popular for that seed keyword. So I check the checkboxes next to those top 5 results. And then I'll right click, and this is how you can transfer them into the Annotations tab. So I right click and select Send Selected Keywords to Annotations tool, and that will send them to the Keywords section in the Annotations tab for me. and we go back to the keywords tab. So I also like to grab like the number one top ranking keywords in the first position for the variations of my seed keywords. So we can actually filter for those. To do that, you're going to click on the magnifying glass on the rank column and select less than 2. So that's going to filter out all of the other results except for that number one result. So when I have all of those pulled up, I am going to check on the checkbox at the top of the column and click on Select Checks for all rows. And then right click and select Send Selected Keywords to Annotations tool. And that's going to add all of the keywords along with our top 5 keywords in the Annotations tab, and we can start searching for them. So you can see here that most of these do not have a correlating interest page. So they don't have an annotation listed here, and it will just say not found in the results. So it may be more helpful to use a more broad keyword when using this method, but honestly, every niche is so different. So just feel free to experiment and see what gives you the best results. Okay, I'm going to clear these results again. Going to be doing a lot of that today. And next we'll head over to the Trends tab in the main menu. And lately for me, Trends has been a little bit slow. So I went ahead and I preloaded the results for dog training. So I went with a little more broad keyword for this one. But just to demonstrate, you can repeat the same exact steps that we just did by clicking on that checkbox, selecting all of the rows, right click, and then send selected keyword to Annotations tool. And from there, you can search to see if there are any annotations that match those Trends keywords. So the results for dog training were not that impressive, but if you have a topic that has lots of keywords on the Trends tool, it's worth checking these out. So food, fashion, home decor, all of those really big niches, it's probably going to be more fruitful for you than dog training was for me. So I'm going to clear these again. And the next tab that we're going to look at is probably the tab that I spend the most time in. It's the main pins tab. And I'll input our keyword dog training tips again, and it will pull up the top pins for that keyword. So technically, we've already seen the annotations for the top pins for this keyword when we used the search section within the annotations tab. That's where those annotations are being sourced from. But I wanted to do a little separate section about this because you can actually select only the most relevant pins to your search if you do it this way, so that you're not getting every single pin for that keyword. So let's say I want to do, instead of doing a more specific post about tricks or specific behaviors, let's say I just want to do like a general dog training tips post. I can actually go through these pins and select the ones that are most relevant. And then I'll go through the same steps that we have done previously. Right click, select, send selected keywords to Annotations tool, and analyze them from there. So a quick side note, if you ever want to see the annotations and their search volume for just one single pin, you can go back to the pin results, and we're going to scroll all the way to the right to the annotations column. Then double click on the annotations and it will bring up this little pop-up window. And from here, you can click on the little controls button and then click Get Pinterest Search Volume. And that will give you search volume for these annotations for this single pin only. Dave added this, and I think it's a neat little addition. If you just want quick reference for a single pin, it's really nice not to have to jump from one tab to another. The next update we're going to look at is over on the main boards tab. So I am doing a search in the boards tab for our keyword dog training tips, and Pin Inspector is going to pull all of the top ranking boards for that keyword. And in the boards tab, now, whenever we scroll all the way to the right, we can see all of the related interests that these boards are tagged with. So if we open up one of these boards in an incognito window and scroll to the bottom of the pins, we can see the top 5 related interests here. And this is an indication to us that the board has been tagged with that interest. But when I was doing a little bit of research before asking Dave if he could add this to the software, I noticed in the code that there's always more than 5 interests tag on each board, which was surprising to me. I figured they just chose the top 5. What I like about having this in Pin Inspector is we can now get a full list of interests a board has been tagged with. So just like the annotations column in the main pins tab, you can double click on the related interest to bring up this little pop-up window. And you can use that controls button to grab the search volume for those keywords for quick reference. Okay, so back in the boards tab, let's scroll back so we can see the list of boards. And we can send all of the tagged related interests to the annotations tool for analysis by right-clicking on that red check mark and select send all related interests to annotations tool. So you don't even have to select them all with the check mark. And that will send all of those interests to the keyword section of the annotations tab and will automatically remove any duplicates, which is very nice because I scraped a bunch of pins manually and there were tons of duplicates. So if you do it this way, it's really nice because it's going to eliminate those duplicates. And if you're searching for a keyword and 90% of the boards have that same keyword as the board title and it's a similar topic, you're going to have a lot of duplicates. So it's really nice that it will remove those for you. Something to keep in mind when collecting keywords from this tool like this is to be sure to check the category tree column, which is the same as the taxonomy of interest, because some of your keywords might actually be in a different category or niche than the one you're targeting. So for this example, I have keywords that belong to the education interest, several in the parenting interest, sports, and other various interests. So just be mindful of this when choosing keywords from your results. Next, I want to show you some additional major updates that Dave has added to the boards tab. So there are a couple new sections that have been added. There is the import button and the browser button. So I'll show you how to use these today. It's very easy. And this is going to be useful for interest targeting research, specifically because of the new related interest column that we can now see on our boards data. So previously, the only way to get boards into the boards tab was to search for boards using a keyword. And this was pretty useful in itself, but with these new buttons, we will be able to pull in specific boards for analysis. So we're not limited just by keyword searching. So first I want to start with the import button. So you can click on the import button to bring up this new window where you can paste any board links to import into the boards tab. So if you have a list of board links that you want to analyze, you can pull those up, you can copy those, and then you can paste them into this window and select go. And Pin Inspector will scrape all of the data for those boards so you can analyze them from there. So in summary, the Boards tab import window, you can paste board links, of course, and your links should always be in this format, pinterest.com/username/board name. And you can also paste page source code that includes board links, which is not my favorite way to scrape for boards because there's just an easier way to do it. But I did want to mention it here that it is possible to paste your source code there. Okay, what I'm most excited about with these updates is being able to analyze boards from one account. And there are a couple of ways to do that. So the first way is to click over to the People tab. And you'll search for the account directly, or you can search for a keyword if you don't have a specific account that you want to look into. Here I'm searching for dog training, and I'm just going to use one of these ranking accounts for this example. And when you found an account that you want to analyze, just right-click on the account username and select Analyze Boards for selected user. And you'll be prompted to choose how many boards you want to extract. So we will click on that drop-down and choose All, and then select Analyze. And that will send all the board links created by that account to the import window where you can review them if you need to. And if you're ready, just click on Go and that will start analyzing the boards for you. So the only downside to this method is that it only collects boards that were created by that account. So you'll see here that the board owner username is the same as the account that we searched for. So this means that using this method, we cannot see any group boards that this account is a part of. So we're not getting a complete list of their boards. I'm going to go ahead and clear these results so that I can show you my preferred way of collecting and analyzing boards. And that's using the new feature, the browser button. So this button opens up a browser inside of the tool that allows you to open any web page and extract the board links from that page. A side note, you can also extract pins, ads, and users, but for today, we are just going to be focusing on boards. And once I have an account in mind, I will usually have that account open in a separate window. So all I need to do is copy the account's URL and then go back to the tool and click on Paste and Go. and that will automatically pull up the account for me. When you are using the browser tool, make sure you are not logged into Pinterest here. So you should see buttons at the top that say log in or sign up, showing that you are indeed logged out. So I was logged in when I first tried this tool, and it did not work for me until I logged out. So the board scraping tool may not function correctly for you if you are logged in. Now we'll start live scraping the boards by scrolling down the page. And as each board loads, it will be added to the list of board links on the right. So I suggest scrolling a little bit slowly so that each board can load and get properly scraped, because I've found that if you scroll too fast, the scraper can miss a few of the boards. You'll know you've reached the end of the accounts boards when you see this heading that says more ideas from whatever the creator's username is. Everything past that point is going to be individual pins. So I have all the boards. I'll click on the Add Boards button, and that will add all the boards to that import window. And we can click on the Go button to add these boards and start extracting the data for us to analyze. Okay, so we now have 3 ways to add boards to the Boards tab. The Import button is great for analyzing a list of board links that you have on hand, and you can also use it to analyze source code that contains board links. Grabbing boards from the People tab allows you to analyze boards owned by that creator only. So this will exclude group boards since those are owned by other accounts. And finally, the Browser button, which allows you to browse and scrape all boards from any web page. So this option is my favorite out of all 3. If you want to analyze the interests on just one board, you can double-click on the related interest column to open up this pop-up window showing 25 interests that the board is tagged with. And just like over in the Pins tab, you can click on the Controls button and select Get Pinterest Search Volume to pull in the search volume for these related interests. So this is handy if you want to just quickly analyze interests that are tagged on a single board. Or you can analyze all of the tagged related interests at once by right-clicking on the red check mark and selecting Send All Related Interests to Annotations tab. And there you can search and analyze all of your interests at one time. Just be sure to identify the type of interest before incorporating them into your strategy, because we know that there are 3 types of interest and they are not all created equal in the algorithm. So that covers the 2 big updates made to Pin Inspector recently. And these updates are great because they give us access to data like search volume with just a few clicks that otherwise would take hours to collect manually. So I think it is amazing. But all of that data can be overwhelming. So if you would like to learn more about how to use annotations on your Pinterest account, I've included my full annotations strategy and the extended version of this training inside my Pinterest course, Scheduling Shortcuts. There, you'll also learn my full interest targeting strategy that hones in on the interest algorithm, which works by connecting your content with people who are actually interested in your topics. If you haven't already, sign up for my free Pinterest strategy guide, which will add you to my email list and give you a discount on that course. So I'll leave a link for that below as well.